Hey, I'm just sitting here today answering some comments that we have online. I find it easier to sit back and rattle them off this way than it is for me to write these long answers that take me all day. I'm better at talking than I am at writing. Figure that one out. So what I wanted to go over today is how I got into this industry. I guarantee you it's far different than 99% of the people that got into this industry. 99% of the people that got into this industry either bought a franchise, or sold it. Their family was in the business or they worked in the industry and said, you know what, I could probably do this better, and then went out and started their own business. That being said, mine wasn't like that at all. I was running a call center at the time. So I was in Regina, Saskatchewan, and I went out there to run a call center. We had about 125 employees. I started from scratch. Picked the carpet out, dialers, every single thing you could possibly imagine. I picked out, hired the first staff, hired the first managers, everything. So one of the things I got to hire was the first cleaning company. So when we set cleaning companies up to come in and bid on it, I was so busy, we only just hired the first person that came in. All right. Husband and wife couple, we absolutely lucked out. They were amazing at their job. They were an old retired couple that came in after hours, cleaned our business for us for years. We never had one complaint. It was absolutely amazing. They always went above and beyond, easily communicative. I only think they had us and one other client. But what happened after a couple of years was the husband passed away. They were older, and she couldn't take on the work anymore. The quality started to dip, and rather than doing bad service, she just wanted to shut the business down and kind of move on with her life, which, I can understand, right? She had a huge loss and didn't want to do the same thing she was doing before, so I understand. So we decided to hire out some other companies. So we do what most people do or businesses do when they want to find a service that's, maybe more than $50 one time. We do a request for proposal. So we put some information in the newspaper, because this was years ago. We phoned some companies to come out, send some emails. Everybody comes out. We do a tour. To my surprise, out of, I think, 4 or 5 companies we called, 2 or 3 showed up. Like there wasn't a whole lot that showed up for it. And they showed up looking like shit, to be honest. Ripped pants, dirty clothes, not kempt well, very, very poor communication skills, no eye contact. It didn't give me a lot of hope for the industry. But at that point in time, I was so busy running a call center with hundreds, I wouldn't say 100 staff, like 125 staff is maybe the average, that I wasn't even worried about these cleaning companies coming in. It was something that I just handed over to my administrator. At the end of it, bring me the bids with what they're going to do, and we'll go from there. A standard RFP. So it's all said and done. She brings me the bids, and proposals come in this 1-page check-off sheet with a price for $2,000 a month for a 5-day-a-week service, 5,000 square feet. That was one of them. Another one was like $1,700. Another one was like $1,500. They were all over the map. The presentations looked like shit. Nobody followed up after they handed in the pricing. And I was like, oh, Jesus. We were paying like $600 before. I was like, okay, I can understand that it's going to be more money because these are actually companies, so they have employees. They're just not people supplementing their income for their retirement. They actually have to go out and make a profit, make money, do the job. So I understand. But triple to 4 times what we were originally paying was a lot. So what we decided to do was, like all companies, we go with the middle range. Don't want to go below, don't want to go high, went with the middle range. To be honest, there was really nothing different about their proposals and the information they delivered other than the price. So go with the middle range, and the company was fucking terrible. I mean, it was so bad it wasn't even funny. From the beginning, they didn't even show up the first day. The supplies they were using were from Walmart. They argued when we asked them to correct things. We couldn't get a hold of them when we needed something done. Part of it was spot washing walls. So we had pop on a wall for like a week where I watched it and nothing happened. Had to call them. They argued with me that it's not part of their job, even though they checked it off on their checklist. It was a disaster. So needless to say, we fired them. So we put another ad in for RFP. Same people apply, plus one extra. This time we decided to go with the highest one, and thinking, okay, well, maybe if we just go a little higher. So keep in mind now, we went from paying $600 to like roughly $2,000, and I might be off by $100 on these numbers, but I know that these are where the range were, because I got shit from my boss with going, how come we're going from $600 to $2,000 for janitorial services? So we're at $2,000, and the company was worse. They showed up less. They delivered the same standard of cleaning, but at least 2 to 3 times a month they wouldn't show up. And it was like, I would call the owner, and at least this owner picked up during the day, and he would just be like, well, you know, it's really hard to find people and make sure that they show up to work all the time. Like, it was my problem, right? So again, guess what happened? We fired them. So at this point in time, I'm getting pissed off because I've wasted a ton of time finding a janitorial company, which is this little part in my business. It's about this big, right? It's just keep the office clean so the staff are happy, so that they don't goddamn complain about it. And staff are complaining all the time. I wouldn't even use this bathroom. This place is gross. Look how gross this kitchen is. And we're paying $2,000 a month. So last thing we do is we go, okay, let's just hire one of the other guys that came out and applied twice, the $1,500 one. The guy was actually the best one out of the 3. That being said, it wasn't that much better. We were still having nothing but problems. At least twice a week we're phoning them. So at this point, instead of going, okay, obviously hiring companies isn't working, right? Do we have a lot of staff in a small area? Yeah, we do. I go, okay, well, maybe that's part of the problem. So I start looking for the problems. So I take it upon myself to start showing up when the cleaner gets there, right? I start showing up and watching. Cleaner comes in looking like garbage. Hey, how are you? Barely even talks to me. Asks me to leave my office so he could clean it. Even though I told him to kind of clean around me. You know, the equipment was, I mean, it was decent, right? It wasn't something you found at Walmart, but the vacuum was obviously broken because it sounded like a jet plane when they were vacuuming. And then what happens here is the first night he comes in, and the office is 5,000 square feet. We have 50 cubicles in them, and we run 3 shifts. So his job was to do the carpets, desks, bathrooms, sinks, kitchens, surfaces, garbages, standard cleaning, and then on the weekends do higher dusting and the maintaining of facilities. So he whizzes in and out of there in 30 minutes the first day. So I'm like, what's going on here? I mean, he spot vacuums, barely touches the carpet, doesn't get in a corner or edge. I don't even think he cleaned the toilets. Goes in, does the kitchen. Kitchen looked good, but the top of the fridge is dustier than hell. The back landing, so the lip on the kitchen, is dust cake this thick. Didn't move chairs to get underneath them. Didn't lift keyboards. So I'm like, okay, well, that's odd, right? So I start doing the math. I'm like, minimum wage back then was about $9 an hour. So I assume that I'm like, max, they're making $10 an hour. So $10 an hour So the first day, let me go back. First day he was 30 minutes, the next day 45, and then there was a day where he was an hour, another day where he was 30 minutes. So I'm like, let's just average this out at 45 minutes. So I do the math. I'm like, okay, if he's here 5 days a week for 45 minutes, what are we at for math here, right? Times. So he's roughly here 15 hours a month. Let's say he's doing some extra work on the weekends. Okay, dusting and stuff, but I mean, the dusting was terrible, so I can guarantee he wasn't doing that. So what happens here is this. So I do the math and I'm like, this guy is paying somebody $200 a month, maybe after CPPI and chemicals, $250 a month, and he's billing me $1,500, and he's the cheapest guy we have. So that's more or less when my aha moment kicked in. And I was like, I guarantee you I could do this industry better. I can do it more cost effective for people, not for me and my cleaners, but for our clients, right? We could be more cost effective. We could give better support and services. We could have people that actually communicate well during the day with them. We could be the best in the industry. So I fired this company and I took it upon myself to clean this office. So I did the carpets, the floors, the bathrooms. I even learned how to strip and wax floors on the floors. I rented carpet machines and figured out how to do carpets. I had people come in from janitorial supply places and teach me how to do all these things. So while I ran this business, I learned the janitorial business inside another business I was operating. Not wanting to give up fully on the call center industry because I love it. I love being around other people. I love sales itself. I love talking with people. I love overcoming objections. I love how you call so many times and it builds frequency so you get really good at things very, very fast. It really helped me extrovert to who I was. I loved how there was so many different things you could say and the psychology behind selling. I loved all of it. So I didn't really want to give up on this industry. So I decided to keep doing both. I would cold call in the morning, do estimates. So I got a couple clients that way. But then, the tail end of it, the business I was operating, or the company I was working for, the call center, didn't want me doing both. It was, choose one or the other. But I didn't want to give up on the call center industry, but my cleaning business was doing enough where I was making a little bit of money now. So I didn't overly need the other money. I did and I didn't, I was making 100 grand plus a year running a call center. I definitely wasn't making that running a janitorial company. It was only a couple $1,000 because that's where more majority of my attention went, was the call center, and I wasn't really focused on the janitorial company. So I was kind of dabbling, but there's a little bit of money there. If if my 100 grand a year salary got cut off, it would have hurt huge and I would have barely been able to make it, which, if I get to the story later on, I'll tell you about. But it was tough, right? So I decided to kind of keep some of the contracts that we have, leave the company, and start my own consulting business and go overseas and do work in the Philippines, India, for call centers. So I went over there for a little bit, running a janitorial company from Regina, which wasn't the best idea. We lost a couple of the contracts that we had. I think only at that time we might have had like 5 or 6, but they were big ones. So we lost a couple of them. So we were only left with a few janitorial companies that we cleaned with. So I was overseas and I was doing work in the call center industry, teaching people how to cold call. So outbound cold call into Canada, US for charities, special events, things like that. I was married with a wife at the time and a kid, and she didn't want to move to the Philippines and bring our daughter out there. I can't blame her for not wanting to come out, but I mean, it was absolutely beautiful. The country was amazing. The people were even better. But you know, when you haven't been there, you hear horror stories about, you know, third world countries and not getting the right medical attention. I can honestly say that it was none of that. It was almost like a paradise out there. And because I had the skill set they were looking for, I had drivers, we were paid very well, but I couldn't even convince her to come out. And at that point in time, my marriage, well, it still is now, and being a father is more important than the boatloads of money I could have made out there. And I figured I was smart enough that I could come home and have the same type of opportunity here in Canada as I do out there. But I wouldn't be able to do it in the call center industry because in Canada I had a non-compete at the time, so that industry was out for me. So I came back. I still had a couple contracts, but they weren't $3,000 a month anymore. I mean, I was maybe making $1,000 profit on them a month, which when you have a wife and kid, that's not a whole lot. So we were in Regina. We decided to move back to Brandon, Manitoba. And we moved in with our parents. We moved in with our parents, the daughter. I was, I don't know, 24-ish, 25 at the time. And I went head first into the janitorial industry. My goals were the wrong goals at the time. It was strictly to run a janitorial company and make as much money as I was making in the call center, which is the wrong goal. I think I did that in the first year and a half. I think our first year in sales was like 180,000. Next year was 250 or 300, something like that. And then what happened after that is I was making enough money and I just coasted. Right? I got very, very comfortable doing what I was doing. So I coasted, and then the next couple of years were like, you know, 300, 500, I mean, nothing crazy. And then I have a story about my son, how he got extremely sick, which completely shifted the way I think. Shifted my desire to want to run a huge company, shifted everything in my life. I started, you know, I went from working 20 hours a week to working 80 hours a week and still having a better marriage, still being a better father than I even was before. Everything actually improved. Most people go as well, if you're working that much, how's your marriage? Or if you're working that much, you're not spending a lot of time with your kids. I don't overly believe that. I think provided you make everything a priority, which I think you need to nowadays, then you can do it all, but it has to be a priority. You can't just want to be successful and hope the marriage and your children just go, well, yeah, he's away being successful and he'll get to us later. Every single facet needs to be organized and you need to give the appropriate attention to each person. And I'm not going to lie, it's extremely hard sometimes, but it's definitely possible. But you all got to be on the same page with what you want. So that kind of brings us to where we are now. Where we are now is this year we'll do about 4 million. I think this is our 6th year in business, going on 7th. And yeah, we are officially going to do 4 million this year. We're on target for our numbers. And even if we were behind targets, we would just increase actions to reach the targets. And next year we're on goal to do, wow, our goal is to do 8 million, have a double our company within 1 year, which is gonna require a lot bigger think from me than where we are right now. A lot more people, a lot more work. But that's really how I got into this industry and how I got to where we are right now. It was challenging, fun. It's not what I think it was gonna be. The industry itself is an amazing industry filled with tons of opportunity. The problem is people just take it for granted how easy it is. I hear people all the time, how do I get contracts? How do I do this? How do I do that? And then sometimes I'll give them some information and they'll go, wow, that won't work in my industry. That doesn't. I mean, what they're really saying is I tried it once and it didn't work. Frequency is the key to everything. I mentioned that before with why I love the call center so much is the more you do and the more you push out there and the more you push into the marketplace. So outflow equals inflow. So I hope you like my story. If you have any questions after this, as always, you can get a hold of me at 1-800-377-5572 or email me at peterb@oraclebm.ca. We do have a Facebook group called Janitorial Solutions. I hope you join and give us your input. I love all that input. It really helps me do a lot of these videos and helps me design ways to help you guys out and just make it better. So again, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate everything.